Welcome to the first section in this series of short videos, each covering a topic relating to the management of hygiene in veterinary practices, and each followed by a short set of multi-choice questions to help you build and action your knowledge. This first section covers the principles of infection control. The same high standards applied to infection control in human health are equally important in animal health. In both sectors we have the same objective: to prevent pathogens reaching a susceptible site in sufficient numbers to cause an infection. First, we will be looking at the types of pathogen, then how they spread. Following that, we'll look at the diseases that pathogens cause and the routes of transmission, followed by how to prevent pathogens from causing disease. We'll then focus on the different types of cleaning and disinfection, or decontamination. Finally, we'll finish this section with the procedures and routines you can implement in your practice for surveillance, monitoring, and control. You'll then have 8 multi-choice questions on the topics raised, so that you can test your understanding and retention of the information we've presented before moving on to the next section. The UK's Health and Safety Executive is responsible for the control of licences under the Specified Animal Pathogens Order. The HSE uses 4 standard classifications of pathogens, or groups as they are known, according to their individual risk to human health. These groups and their threat levels equally apply to animal health. For this reason, we also mention zoonotic diseases, which means the disease can be transmitted between humans and animals. Let's now look at these 4 groups in more detail. Group 1 organisms are of no concern. We encounter harmless bacteria every day and remain unharmed. A healthy animal or human is equipped with a strong immune system to fight unwanted bacterial, fungal, or viral intrusions. Group 2 is the largest group by far. Organisms in this group may cause a wide spread of disease in the community, although there are usually swift and effective treatments available. Among the thousands of microorganisms in Group 2 are some that are encountered frequently. We will look at organisms that have a particular impact in the veterinary world later in this section of the module. Group 3 microorganisms are highly contagious and require very careful infection control procedures. Examples are Mycobacterium tuberculosis and FIV. Group 4 is the most severe category of pathogens. It includes diseases such as Ebola and rabies and requires controls at governmental and international level. Zoonotic pathogens cause infectious diseases in both humans and animals that are transferable, hence the name. Understandably, these are the most critical diseases for vet practices to control. We will look at these in more detail shortly, but for now, let's look at how pathogens spread. Whether human or animal care, patients require contact. Almost everything we do and work with can be a vehicle for moving pathogens around. Human contact, food preparation surfaces, mixing and eating equipment, even our overalls, they all present risks. Even if we share a pen with a client, it can be a transmission risk. Unless we always wear special filtration masks, which is highly impractical, we will be breathing the same air as other people and animals who may be carrying infection. Animals come into contact with each other, either directly or indirectly, sharing the same environment and breathing the same air. Everywhere an animal goes, it will leave microscopic or more visible traces of temporary occupation. These traces may carry infective material that other animals could collect. They may get scratched or worse, and a bacterial eruption can result. Once unwell and required to pay the vet a visit, there are greater risks of cross-infection with and to others. Let's look at these means of transmission in more detail. Any body fluid from an infected animal can be a means of transmitting disease. These can include oral, nasal, sexual, and ocular emissions, as well as urine, vomit, feces, blood, sweat, lymph, and maternal milk. Direct contact can occur in the home or outside in common spaces. The vet practice is a high-risk environment if animals are able to come into contact with each other, particularly in common spaces like the waiting room. The cages or isolation runs into which a recovering animal is placed and its bedding may have traces of pathogenic material. Food and water bowls can be a distinct risk if inadequately cleaned between uses. A pathogen such as Bordetella bronchoseptica, which causes kennel cough, is passed on air currents in the breath of an infected dog. Once in the environment, it can be inhaled by another dog and so passed on. Contamination can occur when food or water is fouled by urine. Another possibility is where rodents or other wild animals leave feces on food. This is a distinct possibility from when food is poorly stored, for example in an outbuilding or loose in a tub. A disease vector is any animal or microorganism that carries and transmits an infectious pathogen into another living organism, often without becoming infected themselves. Mosquitoes are perhaps the best-known disease vector. Others include ticks, flies, sandflies, and fleas. Cleaning and disinfection play a major role in helping prevent these transmissions. All vets and animal welfare establishments need to carry out protective measures based on risk assessments. These measures are routinely monitored, as are the patients they protect. So, what should vet practices be doing to prevent disease transmission? Let's look at cleaning and disinfection in more detail. Cleaning generally removes solid wastes, dust, grease, and mess. It is the essential starting point in the infection control process, but it is not enough on its own. After cleaning, you need to ensure that you use the correct chemicals and protocols for sterilization and disinfection. In the next section, we will look at several classes of disinfectant and sterilizing formulations. We will talk through the rules of use throughout the practice as well. Items used in contact with body fluids and surgery are heat sterilized. A further section will examine instrument disinfection. Decontamination is a general term that brackets all of the processes of disinfection and cleaning in one descriptive word. Cleaning and disinfection involves the neutralization, destruction, reduction to manageable levels, or complete removal of dangerous substances, including dangerous microorganisms, from an object or patient. Even though often used interchangeably, each of the terms used in decontamination has a specific meaning. Cleaning, an essential starting point for the infection control process. It involves the removal of visible contaminants and degreasing. Disinfection. Some microorganisms are destroyed, but most are reduced to a level where they do not present a health threat. Sterilization. All living organisms are removed by processes that include dry or steam heat, irradiation, or chemicals. Cleaning is the necessary precursor to disinfection. The most potent disinfection applied to an unclean surface will not produce the full effect, and so is a waste of time and money. Some high-level disinfectants are also cleaners and work well, although careful attention to their application is always needed. Good disinfectant products like Anagene HLD4 are degreasing agents too. Degreasing is vital where animals are present and in the case of food traces. Sterilization is applied to used instruments and very special items of examination equipment. Theatres will often need to use sterilization chemicals in high-level programs on surfaces. Low-level disinfectants are generally the sort of products available on supermarket shelves. They will destroy low levels of group 1 or 2 vegetative bacteria, which are those capable of multiplying in a suitable nutrient, as well as some viruses and fungi. It is wrong to assume that the contents of any container bearing the name disinfectant will cope with every disinfecting job. As such, they are not suitable for the practice. Intermediate level disinfectants will destroy all levels of vegetative bacteria, including some mycobacterial organisms, as well as more classes of viruses and fungi than LLDs. High-level disinfectants will do all that an LLD or an ILD will do, such as the killing of grade 1 and 2 pathogens. They will also cope with grade 3 and other difficult viruses and bacterial spores. Anagene HLD4 and Chemgene HOCl are high-level disinfectants. Take care not to use a low or intermediate level disinfectant in the practice. Only HLDs are effective in this environment. Use dilution ratios to vary the strengths. Careful risk assessments should be carried out in each area of your establishment to decide which area requires a high-level disinfectant at a strong dilution. Some areas will present lower risk than others. In these areas, a less powerful solution of high-level disinfectant can be used. Stocking a high-level disinfectant and varying the dilution at which a solution is prepared according to the level of risk will save money, space, and staff training routines. We'll be considering dilution issues again in more detail in other sections. If there is an outbreak of a notifiable disease, a registered disinfectant must be used. We will go into more detail on notifiable diseases in Section 2, but for now it is worth noting that Anagene NADCC is listed for use against many notifiable or general orders diseases on the DEFRA website. Wherever important work is to be done on an ongoing basis, there must also be follow-up procedures to check that the routines have been conducted on time and in the authorised manner. This also reveals areas for improvement. What is not checked or corrected will never improve. Let's look at how surveillance and monitoring needs to be conducted in the practice. For this purpose, we recommend that a team leader be appointed for cleaning and disinfection. This may, of course, be the practice manager or a senior nurse. The team leader will operate within Standard Operating Procedures, or SOPs, which have been adopted in each practice. We'll have more on SOPs in Section 2, but typically a good SOP will feature pre-designed checklists to ensure infection control policies have been applied properly, and observation of animals for changes in condition. The team leader will also be responsible for training all of the staff responsible for implementing the SOPs. Regular swabs should be taken across the practice in key areas to identify whether pathogens are present post-decontamination. This will help identify gaps in procedure and enable improvements in infection control protocols to be implemented. This is the end of Section 1. I hope you have found it informative. Why not test your knowledge by taking the quiz? Simply click on the quiz button below. Don't worry if you get any wrong, you can always review this video to refresh your memory. Once you are confident of this section, move on to the next. Section 2 goes into more details on disinfection protocols and SOPs.